Jeff Euler, resident 4333 Ricker Highway, Bristol. But I'm also a member of the Great Lakes Wind. Okay, the letter that we just read to you, and I have one copy from Michigan University Health System, and from Survival Flight, and I've supplied that to all you people earlier, and the Planning Commission, and I can do it again. I have a copy here. That the wind turbines are no problem. And the guy I talked to there actually flies up in the thumb amongst the wind turbines. Usually they're out in the field, the accidents aren't there, they're the roads. People, the helicopters like to land on the roads, and they're directed, and they know where the choppers are. And he said that was one thing good about wind turbines. There was no guy wires, and they are lit, so they're safer than flying around cell towers and other type objects. And the misinformation that you people have to deal with all the time is quite annoying to me, I guess, and that you get supplied with. And publications like this for 3 Mile Island kind of indicates that we owned it maybe when Exxon did, when it had its disaster in '78, which we didn't. It was cleaned up and we purchased it in '98, 20 years later. And it's been operating at 100% or 90% ever since that time period. I have a couple pictures here I'm going to leave with you. You don't think that we're concerned, Blissfield Wind or Exelon. Myself and my wife took a trip to Illinois this summer. We visited the Chicago or DeKalb County. Here's the picture that you see put out by the IICC all the time. Here's the picture that I took here when I was in front of the person's house. Don't look the same to me. So anyway, I'll leave that with you. The tax dollars have been covered. That was indicated earlier that we do not, you would lose those. That's not our intention. We've said that. So with that, just be careful of the misinformation, if you would, and weigh that into your decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Good evening. I'm Don O'Connell with the Operating Engineers, Local 324. My office address is in Bloomfield Township, but we have 210 members that live in Lenawee County, and as I've stated before at meetings, those jobs, these turbines will operate is very important to us. Today I've got members here from Local 324, and we have laborers, Local 333 here, and they cover, the operating engineers cover the entire state. We've got 17,000 members in total. The laborers cover Monroe, Lenawee, Washtenaw County, all the way up through the Lansing. Jobs are precious right now for the construction industry, and I've stressed that before here. We've looked at this very critically ourselves. We would not want to see a community put in harm because of a project that's been developed. We're not that kind of folks. We're not in here to just take advantage of the opportunities, because the opportunities we hope that are created by these projects will be from the community that they're building. Maybe not just Palmyra, that's a pretty small community, but throughout Lenawee County, I'm sure. Up in the Thumb, as an example, in Minden, we've had up to 75 operating engineers working on that project. 50 of them come from the Thumb area and worked on that project. These stories you hear about folks coming from out of the country, out of the state, it's like a lot of the other information that's been provided up here, it's false. You know, I was fortunate to meet an ironworker that I had never met before at one of these meetings, and he talked about his grandmother. And he told me that his grandmother was involved when utility companies wanted to bring power lines through here. And she wasn't in favor of it, and divided the community, and there was those who were in favor of it and those who were opposed to it. She says, I was happy with my oil lamp. Why did I need power lines? This is the next evolution. This is what's here now. This is what's needed now. I appreciate all the work you've done, all you've had to listen to, all you've had to research, and the planning board also. And let's get this thing on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Josh Van Camp, 3883 Fike Road, Ogden Township, Michigan. Just real quick, I want to finish up the document that Laura started earlier, this pledge of impartiality, reminding folks that this is not a legal document, but in fact just a good faith pledge to the public. Such a pledge will ensure that any decisions you make and votes you cast will reflect your impression of the best interest of all citizens of Palmyra Township, rather than any financial benefits you may personally receive as a result of the language of the ordinance. This pledge will go a long way to eradicating the discussion of conflict of interest or backroom deals that are currently being deliberated, and will help protect the sense of community that helps make Palmyra Township a great place to raise a family. If you truly believe that the ordinance created for industrial wind turbines in Palmyra is in the best interest of the township as a whole, and not just the financial interests of a chosen few, I urge you to pledge impartiality tonight by signing that you will not enter in an agreement to lease any of your personal land or land held in family trust to an industrial wind turbine developer or operator for at least 5 years following the passage of any wind turbine zoning ordinance in Palmyra Township. And I will say, real quick, as a potential candidate for the Palmyra Township Planning Commission, I would be willing to sign this pledge here tonight for Palmyra Township residents. With that said, moving on, with the ordinance, there were a couple things that I think are worth addressing, or at least looking at. On page 11, they have a definition of an inhibited structure. I think you might want to look at inhibited or inhibitable structure in case we have rental properties or things of that nature that are not currently inhibited by people. I'm not clear whether or not that definition that you have encompasses that. Section 5.2 on the same page, you have the on-demand lighting system, and you have the developers look at it, but they don't really have to do anything if they can just say, well, it's going to cost too much. There's no parameter that delineates what is in fact too much. I suggest that you require that on-demand lighting system if the FAA allows it. Page 12, 3 times setback is not adequate. I would personally like to see 1 mile and 35 decibels, but I think there may be room in between to compromise. The idea here being that non-participating parcels should not get a free noise and shadow flicker abatement. We heard the comment here tonight that RIGA's ordinance is exclusionary. It's exclusionary only in the sense that the developers don't want to pay for those easements. If they were willing to pay for those things, they could build, but they choose not to. Page 13, there was a section there that talks about the hub height being limited to 330 feet or more. There was a written request made. I was just wondering if there was really an intent to allow hub heights to go higher than 330 feet. Going beyond that, that would be some pretty enormous turbines. And then finally on page 15, shadow flicker. There's nothing in the shadow flicker language that really details how a resident would file a complaint in the event that they exceeded 30 hours. What is the metric for a resident determining if they had more than 30 hours? The models that the developers use take into account that there may be overcast days and things of that nature. What if we have more particular sunlight? Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Yes, one question here. I believe there was a typo inhibited one. Where did you find that?
Which one?
Inhibited?
That would have been, the note I wrote was page 11. Right here.
Is that inhibited or is that inhabited?
Inhibited, as opposed to inhibitable.
Is that inhabited? Is that
Yeah,
inhibited?
tomato, tomato. He's saying the same word. He's saying
Yeah.
habitable instead
Inhabitable. Inhibited means that someone lives in it. Inhabitable means someone could live in it.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Carrie? Albert, continue.
Albert Neiman, 8600 East US Highway 223, Blissfield, Palmyra resident. I do live within a half mile of the township line, which I've been told that I live on the line. We have Ms. Van Camp only lives an eighth of a mile from the township line on Station Road. I'll let that be known. First thing is the countries of what the wind turbines are in. There's 40 of them on this list. The number one was the European Union. It has 84,000. China, 41,000. United States, 40,000. Germany, 27,000. Spain, 20,000. India, 13,000. Italy, 5,000. France, 5,000. I haven't got to the Netherlands and the Dutch yet, have I? No, because they're down further. But because we've been talked about that, that's where a lot of your information comes from, is that country. Well, they're down further. United Kingdom, 5,000. Canada, 4,000. Denmark, 3,000. Portugal, 3,000. Japan, 2,000. The Netherlands, 2,000. Then it goes on of all these other ones. United States, in 2011, will have 45,000. China, 55,000. Germany, 29,000. Spain, 22,000. And it goes on, how many more they're putting in. Now, here in the Dutch country that we've been talked about here throughout this time of all the information that we've been getting here for you guys to go through. It says the use of the wind power in the Dutch electrical system could lead to reducing the production cost of, now I don't know how much a euro is, 1.5 billion euros. Now I don't know if you can translate euros into dollars. I don't know what it means. I don't know how to figure money into money. Annual, and reduce the CO2 emission by 19 million tons a year in CO2. One turbine that Exxon is going to be putting out here will do 27,000 homes. Just one turbine. That's almost all of Lenawee County, right? Would you say that's how many people's in the county, John?
Well, the county population is close to 101.
So that's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them? Say 5 of them would take care of the whole county, 6 of them? That's quite a bit. I know it's hard for you guys to make the decision, but you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you, Albert.
And I'll-
Very good, thank you.
John Bullock from Exelon Wind. Live at 11710 Hibner Road in Heartland, Michigan, just up the road a little bit. I enjoy the nice drive down here all the time. Thanks for coming here to work on the ordinance again tonight. I know we've been here coming and working diligently on it with the Planning Commission, I guess, for over 10 months. Perhaps it was introduced before that. And another good 2 months since the Planning Commission recommended it to the board. Since that time, there's been a lot of discussion about topics that we have already went through with the Planning Commission over the past months, but there's really been nothing new beyond that since the Planning Commission recommended the ordinance for approval. As a matter of fact, there's been no new concepts since the Planning Commission public hearing. Just a couple of things on the ordinance that the Planning Commission has put together. We hear a lot about the setbacks and things. The setbacks that are in the ordinance that was recommended by the Planning Commission, they're equal or more stringent than any other area in Michigan where there's turbines being built today. We can hear a lot in the news about Gratiot County, Huron County, Sanilac County, Minden Township. A lot of places that are benefiting from wind turbines. There's several projects being built. The ordinance that you guys have in front of you is more stringent than any of those that are out there where there's a project being built. You hear about these ordinances where there's much higher setbacks and things like that, significantly lower sound limits. Those are created so there can't be wind turbine projects. That's what those ordinances were developed for. The setback limits that are in there are very protective. The noise limits are protective. I heard something tonight again about low frequency noise during the Planning Commission's development process. We presented data here in this room that showed typical data in Palmyra Township, showed low frequency noise, frequency spectrum and levels were similar to that would come from a wind turbine. The noise from a wind turbine is not that unique. We showed data right here. I guess just in summary, this process has been going on a long time. think the planning commission put a lot of good work into it, and we would just ask you to work with what the planning commission provided and move it to approval, so we can have some certainty in Palmyra Township. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
My name is Larry Gould. I live at 10